My name is Dr. Peggy Whiting. I'm one of the professors of counselor education at North Carolina Central University. As Americans, we will share in reflections of remembrance as we encounter the 10th anniversary of the attacks of September 11th. I, like you, recall feeling overwhelmed and anguished by the sensory depictions of really an unfolding nightmare. I remember feeling offended, really, at the notion of learning something from this, and yet situations like this don't afford us the choice to skip over them. But it does. These situations do give us opportunities for healing and transforming and expansion of our own empathy for others and our contributions really in the world. So in thinking about the September 11th tragedy, I want to frame this conversation really in two kinds of questions. Number one, how might we think about a catastrophe that's so unexpected and catches us so off guard? And just a couple of comments I want to make about that. People all over the world experience unexpected things often, and when that happens, they're left feeling assaulted without any warning. We certainly experienced that on September 11th. Life's balance is immediately altered, and we have a sense really of shock and disbelief that lingers. Shock protects us, and it allows us to take in the reality of what's happened little by little so that we don't encounter too much too fast. We take in pieces of the situation. For those close to events of that kind, the assault that happens leaves both the body really and the spirit very vulnerable. Things will happen physiologically to people. Adrenaline rushes, the immune system temporarily shuts down. Memory shifts occur as survival sort of takes over. Details we commonly remember are often inaccessible during the height of the emergency. Things like addresses and phone numbers that we would commonly know. Muscle control weakens. Disorientation and confusion are common. Fear also escalates in these situations, and we saw this in the aftermath of September 11th. Panic reactions. We will move to defend ourselves in whatever ways we normally do that. So our defenses sort of surge to the forefront. Anger begins to mobilize us when the reality of what's happened comes forward, as it did when we took account of those who suffered and died, and the stories and the faces of the people who were lost. When we saw those depictions, the reality comes in more dramatically. For those individuals in these kind of situations where their very survival felt threatened, there's an overload of sensory experience, and that means sights and sounds and smells and emotions. For many of us who watched the tragedy unfold of September 11th, the media provided us with graphic illustrations of the unfolding situation. Catastrophic situations like this carry a unique sense of horror, and anybody who has ever been personally impacted by one knows this. Often the event is relived, either in a flashback kind of thing or in nightmares. Individuals who feared for their lives have to confront what we call survivor guilt if others were not spared. And we have certainly heard stories of those individuals who survived the attacks of September 11th while others did not. All of us in these situations rush to seek information about what happened, about who's responsible, about who we can blame, about what action will be taken, and about what impact has now occurred within our circle of life. We feel out of control, and we seek blame and information and direction to regain some sense of power in the face of what is unknown. One last comment about this is that we tend to operate with a collection of assumptions about our safety in this situation, about our country, about traveling, about people different from ourselves, about trust, and these assumptions provide the basis for predictability and seeming order in our lives. And these assumptions tend to fail the test when unexpected situations occur and we're left temporarily not knowing how to respond or what or who to count on. So the question that follows the first one is, what then can we say and what can we do and who can we be? What are the seeming opportunities within events like this? Well, number one, we can assist in situations of unexpected tragedy by focusing on soothing fear. This means that we have to model healthy ways of staying calm, and leaders in these situations, real leaders, tend to slow down the pace for others by first taking care of themselves through taking time to breathe and slow down. Leaders in these situations tend to be most effective when they talk more quietly, move more slowly, act patient and not frantic, and when they lean on each other, when leaders lean on each other for support before addressing those that are the followers in an event. Leaders will follow a designated chain of command that will gain accurate and factual information that's helpful. So as leaders, we need to keep ourselves informed, and we have to guard against repeating unconfirmed information or giving opinion and speculation. Leaders know how to acknowledge a reality through flexibility that alters a planned agenda for the day. So leaders will lean on routine and normalcy to provide structure during a crisis, but there will be allowances made for shifts that accommodate what has happened. I know after September 11th, the most effective school classes were those where leaders said something like, "We're startled and saddened by these events and will continue to stay abreast until all the facts are known." We can open our hearts to each other in many ways. And are there any comments that you'd like to make before we return to our regular lesson? That's an example of offering leadership in these kinds of situations. Leaders also help people identify how individuals around them are impacted and what their needs might be. They listen to the personal concerns of people around them. Leaders, a couple of things they do not do in these situations is it's not really advisable to avoid the obvious or to compare this loss to another or to offer some sort of cliche explanation or to attempt to answer complex religious questions or political questions, anything of that sort. It's better not to say, "I know how you feel," but more, "What is this like for you?" Leaders will give direction and structure, stay available, model life skills, and offer presence over time as the aftermath unfolds. As we reflect back on this anniversary time to September 11th, we can look for models of leadership within our own country, leaders who seize the opportunities for us to rethink our priorities, to restructure ourselves, to continue the healing from past events prior to 9/11, to expand our compassion, to develop new skills, to challenge our beliefs and structures that do not fit anymore. And we saw evidence of leaders who responded to the vulnerability of the 9/11 crisis while envisioning the opening for different and richer dialogue in our country.